World'in hazırladığı basına saldırılar 2010 yıllık raporuna 100'den fazla ülkedeki gazetecilerin çalışma koşullarını anlatan bir makaleye katkıda bulunmuştur. Kendisine teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi kendisi SalamWorld projesi hakkında bize bir prezentasyon sunacak efendim. Buyursunlar.
I'm very honored to be here, distinguished guests and attendees of this first summit. I'm very honored to be asked to be the one who presents to you about SalamWorld. But you know, it's interesting because I think Chairman Rizwan has told you a lot about the reasons here. Now, it's interesting because we have a chance here to add your voice with questions and comments to shape the issue of SalamWorld and this extraordinary network that's going to make a big difference to Muslims and non-Muslims around the world too. There's still a lot of change that's needed in terms of how Muslims are perceived, in many cases from within and from outside. And I always tell a story of an incident during the Arab Spring where a young boy and his family moved from the Middle East to a small town in America, in the Midwest. And they're out in a small town where the boy goes to a school for the first time, and the teacher tells the pupils, this young boy has come from overseas. She says, stand up, tell us your name, tell us where you're from. So he stands up and says, my name is Abdulaziz Al-Ghanem and I'm from the Middle East. And the teacher says, no, we can't have this. This is too complicated and difficult. It's too difficult. You're an American. You live in America. So you'll be called Johnny now. You should call yourself Johnny. And this little boy, of course, has been taught to respect his teachers. So he says, yes, miss, sir. Fine. So he goes home and his mother is in the kitchen and she says, Habibi, Abdulaziz, how was your first day at school? He says, Mama, don't call me Abdulaziz, call me Johnny. I'm an American now, I live in America. She says, what? He says, don't call me Abdulaziz, we're Americans now. She gets angry, she starts beating him. And the father hears the noise and he comes in and says, what's going on? And the mother says to the boy, tell your father what you just said. He says, Father, look, I don't want to be called Abdulaziz anymore. I'm an American now. You should call me Johnny. He says, how dare you insult me? I give you my father's name. You insult your grandfather. You insult our family. And he starts beating me. So the next day when the teacher sees the young boy coming into the school, she says, well, Johnny, how are you enjoying your new life? He says, Miss, I've only been in America for 24 hours and I've already been attacked by 2 Arabs. So sometimes perceptions have to be changed. But it's very important to realize you can't mess with the mind of a young child, because this boy, there was another boy in the class a couple of days later who saw the teacher teaching him science. And the teacher said, isn't it interesting in the ocean when you look at the biggest animal, the whale, eats the smallest life form, the plankton in the ocean. And the boy says, well, what about a whale swallowing a man? You've heard the story of Yunus in the Quran, it's Jonah and the whale in the Bible. The teacher says, no, it doesn't happen. A whale cannot swallow a man. He says, but what about the story in the Quran? She says, no, this is the Yunus. She says, no, it's impossible. He said, miss, when I die and go to heaven, I'm going to find Yunus and ask him myself. She says, well, what if he didn't go to heaven? What if he went to hell? He says, miss, then you can ask him. So, never mess with the mind of a young child. Now, SalamWorld, of course, we asked, why SalamWorld? Why SalamWorld and why now? We all know that the world is not really fair and just, particularly for many of those in the developing world, many of whom are Muslim. Even in the developed world, Islam is often regarded with negativity and suspicion, making it harder for Muslims to find opportunities which they have a right to, as everyone else does. So, what can be done to make sure that there is a place for Muslims to go where they can feel some sense of peace and security, where their content is designed to address their needs? It's a place where they can share ideas and explore opportunities, where they can make friends and learn more about their religion as well as other cultures and traditions within the Muslim world. It's a place for knowledge and experience and skills and ideas. But it goes much further, also creating, but it goes much further, also creating opportunities that reach into the needs of everyday life, finding jobs, particularly those that might appeal to parts of the Muslim communities in industries that promote the right kind of values, for example. And also to seek investment sources that back the right kind of projects and ventures. Because many people live a halal lifestyle which they would like to support, and perhaps this system can even provide those halal online payment systems and much more as SalamWorld develops. It's a way of keeping traditions and values alive, something that's being lost in many parts of the Muslim and non-Muslim world, these traditions and solid value systems. So how does it work? What exactly is SalamWorld? This slide explains it all. A universal, Muslim-oriented alternative to ordinary social networks. Now, that doesn't mean that non-Muslims are not welcome, but it's a place where every Muslim should feel welcome and comfortable in knowing that this social network understands him or her through the religion, the culture, the sense of belonging. For a start, SalamWorld aims to have high-quality content that's personalized. It's something that Muslims can create for other Muslims, or even those interested in learning about the Muslim world and Islam. It's a minbar, a platform for voices in the modern Muslim society, a place where Muslims can be heard. But it's also a social platform. It's also a social platform where Muslim communities can interact and communicate. Now imagine that. It's a place where Muslims around the world can find a common voice and share their thoughts, something that really is so desperately needed now to create some sense of unity. But let's take it a step further. Let's make it a place where Muslim leaders, those who have a prominent place in Muslim society across the world, whether it's in politics, in business, in entertainment, in theology, and so on, can actually connect with their supporters and followers. Now, SalamWorld already has a lot of support pledged by top people around the globe. So imagine having the chance to connect directly with Prime Minister Rizwan of Turkey, or the Egyptian promoter of Islamic values, Dr. Ahmed Khalid, or Muslim music sensation Sami Yusuf, who has come to Istanbul to join this remarkable SalamWorld gathering as well. And you'll see hear from him later. Remember that even though SalamWorld is about providing something special for Muslims, something that followers of Islam desperately need, it is inclusive, not exclusive. It's about providing a bridge between Muslims and other faiths, so there can be collaborations and interfaith dialogue. So you now have an idea of what SalamWorld is about, but you might ask the question, what is the mission of SalamWorld? Well, the mission is to provide Muslims with the same opportunity for social networking that everyone else has, but taking into account the sensitivities the Muslim world feels about certain issues. SalamWorld provides a level of virtual life and society that protects its users from many of the potholes and the risks that current established social networking sites might present, as our chairman has indicated. And it gives the younger generation of Muslims something customized for them. It's also a way for encouraging technological advances in Muslim countries. Well, who is SalamWorld? Of course, you know, it's interesting because, as the chairman was saying, there are many misperceptions on who's behind it. When I was joining Al Jazeera, there was so much suspicion about Al Jazeera. You know, we were accused of being CIA, KGB, Mossad, everyone. You know, and I said, this is interesting because I get very thorough checks when I go through US airports now, as they think I'm working for everyone. Let's find out who's behind SalamWorld. It's actually a mix of young professional achievers from 12 different countries who all saw the value in creating such a responsible networking site that will target the Muslim network. 17 countries are represented. 17 countries are represented on the executive board, an incredibly diverse range of people understanding many of the cultures and backgrounds that are involved here. The initial 3 headquarters for SalamWorld are across 3 very international cities: Istanbul, which straddles Europe and Asia; Moscow, one of the most vibrant cities in the world right now; and Cairo, with all its rich history dating back so many thousands of years. Of course, though, we have to recognize that Muslims are spread across the world, and future centers for SalamWorld are continually being identified in every part of the globe, including the USA, Iran, South Asia, and of course the world's most populous Muslim nation, Indonesia. Now, it's a valid question if you ask, who is our audience? Who is SalamWorld's audience? Because there has to be some sort of focus. So here you have something that shows you the scope of reach, and it's potentially very large and very diverse. Beyond modern Muslim families, there's the young generation, both Muslim and non-Muslim, young social leaders and active Muslim communities and organizations. There is, of course, a large network of contemporary Muslim scholars across the world who would benefit from the ability to be able to interact and also be able to contribute, which would help a large number of non-Muslims who look for accurate information on Islam and what it represents. And this prevents them being misled with some of the negative propaganda that's often given about Islam and giving Islam a bad name, creating a lot of disunity among Muslims and other faiths. So one of the group that also benefits is the large number of Muslims living in non-Muslim countries who might feel a strong need for a resource, something, a networking site where they can feel much more at home. Now, of course, we're talking about a planet that holds more than 1 billion Muslims, 1.5 billion Muslims in actual fact. That's about 1 in 5 people on this earth. So it's not unreasonable to expect SalamWorld to attract at least 50 million viewers within the next 3 years. Now, ironically, with so many Muslims across this large planet, it's something of a challenge. It becomes obvious there has to be some focus for this project, getting it off the ground, and some areas of the world need prioritizing. So, of course, the slide shows the huge number of Muslims in just these parts of the world, from a population of 245 plus million in Indonesia to 77.9 million in Iran, a lot of people to consider. It's pretty much the whole world. Muslims are everywhere, from the ASEAN region to the Maghreb and the Gulf region of the world, right across the European Union and the Commonwealth of Independent States, and right across to North America. So SalamWorld is here for all of them, basically. One important part of the project is building the right community architecture. It has to work for Muslims across the world in a number of key areas. For this reason, the architecture will include key elements such as social engagement programs, doing some good in the community, business development, helping members to grow their products and services through support and experience, and of course the crucial component of education, which sets the foundation for so much positive growth. Initially, SalamWorld will launch in English and Arabic languages, but the goal is to recognize that Muslims are in every corner of the world, speaking a diverse range of languages. So SalamWorld will grow to encompass these, including Russian, Chinese, Malay, Farsi, and others. Language should not prove to be a barrier for those becoming members of SalamWorld. Now, SalamWorld, of course, will evolve to continue to provide meaningful content for its members. So services and applications will continue to draw people to the site to engage and then to continue their networking. There's so much that SalamWorld can actually provide to its users. The idea is to make sure the content suits the needs of the Muslim communities around the world, also to be an interest to non-Muslims, as we said, who want to know more about the fastest growing religion in the world. The advantage is that communities with diverse backgrounds can engage with content generated and managed by themselves, and it can fill the gap in the lives of many who look for information and commonality, and specific applications will be developed to keep people informed and connected too. So what is the ultimate goal of SalamWorld? What result can we expect as the network grows and establishes itself? As I mentioned earlier, it's a large portion of the world, this population of Muslims. It's not unfeasible to expect SalamWorld to grow to a target set of more than 50 million users within 3 years. But of course, SalamWorld depends on you. Really, it comes down to that. It's very much about participation and networking, bringing people together. What makes it unique from what's already out there is that the content is designed specifically for people like you, Muslims who need something special of their own. So it has to recognize the specific needs and goals of the faithful, as well as providing a platform for dialogue with the non-Muslim world. Who can get a better sense of what Islam is about that way? And then a religion is one of peace, tolerance, and unity. We need to get that message across. SalamWorld's our way, our chance of changing the way our religion is regarded and the way that it's often misrepresented in many parts of the world. So, when you think SalamWorld, think of the human face of the Muslim world. And I thank you very much.
Well,